In the video game space, there is one genre I absolutely love: vehicular combat. Whether it's ramming people off the road or ripping them to shreds with machine guns, these games speak to my soul. Yet I've come to find that many don't share this same passion. Especially when it comes to ones with weaponry, the general gaming audience is usually opposed to these games. So I wanted to discuss this dislike for vehicular combat, as I figure it would be a very interesting matter. Before getting into the main topic, let me briefly explain how I view the genre. I break down vehicular combat into two types: physical and weaponized. Physical combat are games like Burnout and Wreckfest, where you use your car as a weapon. You physically have to battle your opponents using only your vehicle. However, on the flip side, you have weaponized combat. These are games like Wipeout and Twisted Metal, where you have weapons to fight your enemies. Machine guns, rockets, and power-ups like what you would see in kart racers would fall under here. While you may still be able to physically fight your opponents, the main focus is still on the weaponry. With that out of the way, I first started seeing this disdain with my Hotshot Racing A Disappointing Reveal video. I was complaining about how the weaponized combat originally in Racing Apex was removed when the game became Hotshot Racing. While there is a lot wrong with that video in general, I wanted to note what people commented because they made one thing clear. Many said that they were glad that the weapons were removed. This was really shocking to me. I knew the genre was niche, but I was so wrapped up in it that I never got a true sense of what the general tastes of players were. This was only reinforced over the years, where I talked to more people in the racing game space that seemingly were not interested with weapons in their racing games. Of course, there is still plenty of vehicular combat fans, but why does it seem that the general gamer doesn't like or care for these games? Well, the first reason is due to the weaponry. There are many people who just want to drive and race. Having to deal with the weapons can take away from that experience, as your attention is rather split. It's no longer about just driving perfectly, as on top of that you have to use the weapons efficiently as well. Also, some games make the driving easier to better accommodate the addition of combat. That's why you'll see some players say that these games are boring when turning off the weapons, as it can expose the rather unchallenging driving mechanics. However, there's also another problem stemming from combining driving and weapons. Secondly, the games can be too overwhelming. Trying to manage controlling a vehicle while firing weapons, defending yourself from attacks, and trying to complete objectives can be quite difficult. You consistently have to be on the move, as stopping can lose you the event or leave you very vulnerable. With all this constant action, this can be very stressful for players. For those who don't want or can't handle this intensity, they just won't play these games. Even for me, games like Full Auto 2 Battle Lines can be so overwhelming that I actually have to stop playing. Now, there's also people who like exhilarating gameplay, so I think there's another problem holding back players from trying out these games. Lastly, there aren't enough big publishers and developers making games in this space. Really, the only big title we had in years was Mad Max, and that could be argued it was mainly popular because of the Mad Max IP behind it. The rest of the games have usually been indie, which really hurts the outreach of the genre. I know it can be hard for me to name weaponized vehicular combat games other than my favorites of Full Auto and Gas Guzzlers. There just haven't been enough high-profile, quality games in this genre, especially in the last 10 years. So, I can understand why some may negatively look at these games because they don't have the content or quality of AAA experiences that you can find in many other genres. Plus, many might not even know about the existence of these games because of how obscure they can be. These aspects end up driving the general gaming audience away, leaving only the die-hard fans of weaponized vehicular combat. However, this isn't the same story for the other side of the genre, this being physical vehicular combat. This is where we see much more acceptance from players. Unlike with weaponry, there is no complex mechanic added on top of the driving experience, making these games much easier to get into and enjoy. Plus, Physical contact is something that just comes with racing, which is why I believe that players are more open to it in general. Not only have games with this style of combat been more popular, but many physics engines allow for this combat. Games like Forza Horizon 5 and Grid Legends have rammers despite not focusing or encouraging the combat. Overall, it's a more digestible gameplay mechanic that can better complement the racing experience. Even so, physical vehicular combat is still rather niche, as even Burnout has never reached the height of popularity of something like the Need for Speed series. However, there is a special racing game genre with combat that is extremely popular, this being kart racers. Kart racers are essentially weaponized vehicular combat games, but due to their focus on characters and fantasy weapons, they have carved out their own particular racing genre. This is pretty much the only style of vehicular combat that the gaming industry actually cares about. With Mario Kart being so damn popular, it makes sense these companies want to cash in on those players, with games like Disney Speedstorm, Nickelodeon Kart Racers, Crash Team Racing Nitro Refueled, and so much more. There are a lot of kids, teens, and adults who love this type of racing game. Despite me not caring much for these titles, they do give me some hope that weaponized vehicular combat can become more popular. Kart Racers, the Twisted Metal series, and games like Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2010 show that people can enjoy this gameplay. There's a lot of depth and challenge that comes with these games, which are common complaints we see from many racing games nowadays. Plus, I think there's a lot of untapped potential here for competitions. With how action-packed weaponized vehicular combat games can be, they are the perfect genre for esports. Hopefully, things will start to change with the rumored Twisted Metal game in development, but we'll just have to see. With all that said, I am curious what you all think about this topic. Do you agree with my assessment, or do you not agree? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. This has been Gamer Alex. I hope you enjoyed the video, and have a great day.